What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media outside Gillette Stadium as the Patriots just wrapped up a Sunday training camp practice close to the public, open to the media. A reminder, we are powered by Game Time. Head over to Game Time, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase, and head over to Prize Picks as well, powered by them. Use code CLNS for a $100 deposit match bonus up to $100. Terms apply. We're going to do a little offensive rundown here. We'll talk about the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and the offensive line, and we will start with the quarterbacks. Drake Maye, thought had another solid day today outside on the practice field. A couple nice throws. Obviously, corner out to KJ Osborne was sort of the highlight here.
Second day in a row that they connected on that.
Yeah, made a nice leaping grab over Marcus Jones, just missed his fingertips. Then in a red zone period, 7-on-7, down low red zone, he looked unbelievable. He looked so comfortable in the red zone. Couple touchdown passes, one to KJ Osborne, another one to Tyquan Thornton. He just... Look, I'll let you kind of go on a Drake Maye rant here, but to me, he just looks so much more comfortable right now than even Jacoby Brissett does in this offense. It's more fluid. It's not as, kind of jagged and raggedy, if you will. Sometimes there are just times where Brissett's behind center, and there's miscues and mistakes, and Drake Maye, it kind of looks foolproof right now. So I'm really impressed with Drake Maye so far. Obviously, the last couple days, what have you seen? What did you see from him on Sunday?
I don't think Drake Maye's had a bad day since that second day of padded practices.
Yeah.
Every single day you can see there's comfort, there's consistency. Today his accuracy was a little off. The past couple days there's been a little bit of inconsistency, but it's not what you saw at UNC where he's just spray missing and you get kind of nervous about it. It's just these guys aren't going to be perfect out here. He did have one turnover worthy play, which isn't super normal for him. He tried to scramble and throw on the run. Ball went right through Joe Giles Harris's hands, went through, I think it was Michael Petway's hands. Nobody ended up catching it. That was one I'd like to see him be a little bit better at. But on a day where Jacoby Brissett was extremely up and down, his accuracy has been pretty consistently inconsistent. Yeah. There were also some plays where I couldn't tell what exactly went wrong, whether it was, coverage sacks, receivers not getting open or what. But it just didn't feel smooth, the top offense's operation. I think the first play of team periods, they actually had to re-huddle on the very first play. So, a lot of the argument for Jacoby Brissett is, well, he gives you consistency, he can run the operation, all those things, but we're not really seeing that quite as much.
No,
and like you said, it's looked smoother with Drake Maye, and while he did get to mix in with the offensive line, rotation is still shuffling a lot, we'll mention that.
Right.
He's mixing in with some of the starting wide receivers, but it's clear he's still the second quarterback, but he's having, I think, the best success on the field, and the offense does seem like it runs better with him at the helm. I'm not sure what it's going to take for him to start getting the real QB1 reps, or at least mixing in. Even if he doesn't start, I'd like to see him get that quality of reps. But again, another solid day for Drake Maye and a not so great day for Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, look, at this point, I don't really understand what else he has to do to show that he deserves some ones reps. He is the number 3 overall pick. He is your potential future of the franchise. He had a good game on Thursday and in the reps that they gave him, and then he comes out here and has 2 solid days on Saturday and Sunday. So again, trying to take it slow, obviously, with with the rookie quarterback, not throw him into the fire too early, but at the same time, he looks like he can handle it. So we'll see what happens there. Like you said, no real reps with the ones today for Maye. There were times where he was working with ones personnel, but against the Patriots' second defensive unit, and then vice versa, where he was getting reps with the 2s against the Patriots' ones, but no, real true ones reps. And you mentioned Jacoby Brissett, how we talk slow, or it's a little more erratic. There was only one 2-minute drill today. It was Jacoby Brissett under center. And, man, it took a long time for them to get set up and move the ball. And it's that's not a 2-minute drill. The point of the 2-minute drill is to hurry up, get to the ball, this and that.
Pace.
Right.
Some urgency. And
exactly.
That definitely felt lacking.
There was no sense of urgency. So, again, we'll see what happens at the quarterback position. But Brissett, again, so-so today, and Drake Maye definitely on a higher trajectory. Now let's do wide receivers, because you mentioned it and we talked about it. Jalen Polk getting some starting reps with that first it was during the 2-minute drill. Polk comes in and is in sort of an 11 personnel grouping with Tyquan Thornton and Demario Douglas as the slot wide receiver, 3 wide receiver set, like I mentioned. Had a couple nice plays today. Had, he mossed Marco Wilson, I think, down the sideline at one point. And I think he had a couple catches in the 2-minute drill as well. So what do you make of Polk? We talked about it on the post-game show after Thursday's game. Get this guy ones reps. And today he sees them. So what do you make of it? He obviously earned it, but where do you see it going from here with number 1?
It kind of reminded me of last year when Demario Douglas was repping with the 2-minute, with the starting offense during a 2-minute situation over Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, KJ Osborne, I think, is much better than Juju Smith-Schuster.
Sure.
Got to talk to him to the podium today. He mentioned how he's getting on the same page with these quarterbacks and all that. But he was off the field. Jalen Polk was on. And I think it makes sense. He's been one of their most consistent receivers by far. I think it's been him and Demario Douglas, and then it's not really particularly close. Like you said, that catch he had against Marco Wilson, it just continues continues to show, like with Tyquan Thornton, clearly they want him to be the X. He hasn't done anything bad, so I'm not totally against it. But those are the tough catches you don't really see Tyquan make very often, and Polk makes them all the time.
Right.
So it was really nice to see him start to elevate. Got some reps with Jacoby Brissett also in the regular team periods earlier. Most of his work did come with Drake Maye. But yeah, it's cool to see the young receiver who, again, I would love to see at least get significant run with the starters by week 1, starting to get some of those opportunities.
Yeah, Polk scored a touchdown as well on the goal line with Drake Maye on like a crossing route with Marcellus Dial behind him in coverage. So nice route there, nice connection with the other rookie. Obviously, that's pretty much the only wide receiver we want to hit on today, but I do want to mention K1 Baker.
Yeah.
Had a nasty catch
Play of
over
the day.
Marcellus Dial. Caught the football around Dial's helmet and came down with it. So that was probably, I thought Polk's play was going to be the highlight, and then Baker came down with that one in
it's
sort
like,
of
all right,
last period.
Erase
Like,
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Rewrite.
Yeah, so a good one, an impressive catch by the young practice squad candidate. All right, we're going to wrap it up with the offensive line. Another day with a ton of shuffling. They started the session with that, that first offensive line that they've been kind of trotting out there with Lowe on the left side, Chuks Okorafor on the right side, and then everyone kind of the same down the middle. That was not really the case for the rest of practice. They had Caden Wallace taking reps at right tackle with the first team. They had Leiden Robinson taking reps at left guard with the first team. They had even threw Michael Jordan in there at one point at the right guard position. And then when they came out in that final 2-minute drill that we talked about with Jacoby Brissett in the first team offense, it was Caden Wallace at right tackle and not Chuks Okorafor. So we talked on Thursday, after Thursday's game, that Caden Wallace had a solid game with the twos, helped Drake Maye out a little bit in that regard when they were on the field together. And then what's next, right? Does he start to get those reps with that first team offense? He was on that grouping that I keep referencing. It was like July 30th, and they put him out there with the first, the first day of pads, and the offensive line actually looked really solid. But Wallace finally getting in the mix as well as some other young guys. So what did you see from the offensive line today? You also spoke with Vidarian Lowe about his technique and kind of where he is at the left tackle position. That'll be up on the channel as well. So make sure you tune into that. But anything you can share with your interview with Lowe, as well as the rest of the offensive line from today.
Yeah, I'll give you some nuggets from that interview. Definitely make sure you check it out. But on this offensive line, I think we know the interior is set. You got Mike Nwenu and Sidy Sow at guard, David Andrews at center. They did mix in and rotate some guys in. With Leiden Robinson, if it was just him, I would have been reading a little more into it. But the fact Michael Jordan was there, Mike Nwenu mentioned yesterday, they want to prepare for a worst-case scenario kind of situation. So there's an explanation there. But Vidarian Lowe seems like someone who really is entrenched at the left tackle spot. It's been the case. We thought it was going to be a competition where Caden Wallace was the first left tackle early in padded practices. It's been Vidarian Lowe since. Elliot Wolf actually did mention that the team thought that Lowe had starting caliber potential, but he needed to be more consistent with his hands and just using them and being effective with them. And then when we spoke to Vidarian Lowe after practice, he had a lot of praise for Scott Peters' strike system and the way that it's helped him progress, and also just Scott Peters' style of coaching. So Vidarian Lowe, I know he's a lightning rod for criticism, but he has shown significant growth. I think you saw it in the Eagles game. He was much better than he was against the Panthers. Mentioned having joint practice with the Eagles was a big part of that, and also just he's very detail-oriented, very critical of himself, which must have been tough last season. No knock on him. But yeah, so Vidarian Lowe improving, but is he still that starting caliber guy? We will see. In Scott Peters we trust, but also just Vidarian Lowe. I think you'll see it in the interview. Very easy guy to root for, even though, of course, the play has been inconsistent. That right tackle spot, though, is what's most interesting to me, because in the past 2 preseason games, Chuks Okorafor has noticeably not been able to get push. It's one thing on the left side, and that's why I thought he was a better fit there, because that's where a lot of your zone stuff happens. It's not as much as the people-moving gap concepts that they tend to use with Mike Nwenu. You can see it on the tape. Mike Nwenu looks like 2 of Chuks Okorafor, and after watching the tape, I'm thinking, if Vidarian Lowe really does play well and is a decent starting left tackle, maybe Caden Wallace should just stick to right tackle, because Wallace and Nwenu is a really powerful combo, and I think could get some great movement in the ground game. Chuks, I think, has been fine in pass protection. He definitely could be better, but I'm thinking, okay, if Chuks is solid, and then Caden Wallace is solid just because he's a rookie but will still improve, and he's a better run blocker, maybe he should be the starter. And we saw during the 2-minute drive today, although Wallace was taking reps at right tackle, also mixing at left tackle, he was the top right tackle during a 2-minute situation, which you don't want to read too much into one period, but still it was absolutely notable given how important those situations are. So keep an eye out on Caden Wallace potentially going back to his old spot at right tackle.
definitely a ton of interest in that Patriots offensive line right now. Again, with where the offense is going and kind of how they're going to set up that first five. Elliot Wolf, like you said, mentioned that he has confidence in the offensive line and that they're just trying to find that first front five that they're going to use, and not necessarily the five best players, but the five guys that work together the best. A couple more housekeeping items on this practice before we get out of here. Mitchell Wilcox, the third tight end on this team, goes down with what looked to be a calf injury during 7-on-7s. He left, was in the medical shed, did not return. Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry weren't out here already, so that tight end group is starting to kind of deplete quickly here with some injuries, so we'll see what happens there. Jaheim Bell got some run today. He looks pretty good, and I would say Jacob Warren and Michael Petway are in the mix as well. But quickly, what did you say from Jaheim Bell, before we wrap this up?
So he did catch 3 touchdowns today during low red zone periods. I want to be specific. They were on flat routes. I think 2 of them were picks and 1. He was wide open. It looked like Joe Milton actually pumped to him, maybe as a joke because there was no one around. Jaheim Bell has been someone who unfortunately hasn't impressed me much this summer. I was really high on him, but you can see, there's a lot of improvement that needs to be made there. But good on him for capitalizing on his opportunities. Those were the only times I really noticed him during practice. But still, when the ball's thrown your way, you got to catch it and make the most of those. I think a lot of his production early on is probably going to come from design touches and things like that. So good on him for, once again, making the most of his chances.
I'll also add that it looks like Joey Sly has really taken a stranglehold of the kicker competition. Him and Chad Ryland had a competitive period to end practice. Joey Sly was a perfect 4 for 4, and I don't know how many attempts Ryland had, but he did miss 2.
He was 3 for 5.
3 for 5, one from 56, I believe he missed, and then he missed another one from 49. So despite being a 4th-round pick last season going into his second year, it looks like right now the nod is going to go to the veteran Sly.
And both of the kicks hooked to the left, even some that kind of snuck in were both leaning left, and that's been a consistent problem for him. So it's frustrating for a guy like Ryland who is young when it's like, no, this is one specific part of your game that it feels like still is not getting fixed. It's hard to see him making the roster over Joey Sly, especially considering, as we saw in the preseason game, kickers need to tackle now. And I don't know if you guys have seen Joey Sly. We thought he was a trainer.
Linebacker.
Because the first couple of days he wasn't doing anything. He was just standing around. So we're like, it's kind of weird. Like, is somebody hurt? Why is there a trainer going around with the kickers?
Looks like Cooper Kupp, too, with the beard. He's like jacked up. And
but he's a guy, if one of them needs to make a tackle, I'd usually put my money on Joey Sly. So between that and the fact that he has just been lights out in the preseason and in practices, Chad Ryland really slipping in the competition after looking like he had the edge entering or early on in the summer.
That's the practice report from Sunday. Patriots practice. Drake Maye looks good. Jacoby Brissett so once again. Jalen Polk getting reps with the ones. Offensive line shuffling around. Joey Sly has a leg up. In the kicking competition.
Sly.
And Mitchell Wilcox goes down with an injury in a depleting tight end room. That's going to do it here for us from CLNS Media for Sunday Patriots practice. We'll be back on Monday for more from Gillette Stadium down here at training camp. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the channel at Patriots Press Pass on YouTube, and read all of our written work at clnsmedia.com.
Make sure to subscribe to Patriots Press Pass for all your Patriots news and updates on YouTube, and for all our written work, make sure you check out clnsmedia.com.